All right, so welcome to Ways to Engage Beyond Burial, which is a more casual offering from 4 conservation burial grounds across the country, just talking about other ways that people engage and interact with this land. And some of them are really kind of creative and inspiring. I think we'll have some stories from all 4 of us and a couple of videos in the mix as well. So, let's see here. This to me is an interesting question. Favorite cemetery experiences. And it's sort of an oxymoron when you think about it, but let's just hold that in the back of our minds as we go through this this presentation. So let's hear next from Marianne at the Forest.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Jody. Yeah, so welcome everyone. Again, my name is Marianne from the Forest Conservation Burial Ground, and I have a few photos to share with you and a short little video of some of the activities that happen on the property. And so the burial ground is actually the newest addition to the 445-acre Willowwit Ranch, which is located about 30 minutes from the town of Ashland, Oregon, up in the lower Cascades. And we are a private inholding within the expanded Cascade-Siskiyou National Monument, which is the only national monument in our country that is set aside specifically to protect biodiversity. The way that our geology and such happens here in Southern Oregon, it's a pretty unique place with lots of endemic species and such. So yeah, maybe we could just see a couple of photos I think are first. Oh, the video. Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm looking.
That's okay.
That first, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. There is some audio, but maybe it's not.
I'm going to pause for a second because something is a little bit wonky and I want to make sure people can actually hear. So I'm going to stop share and revisit the slides. My apologies for the
Oh, it might be selecting the audio things, and the audio is just background music. It's not content.
I know, but it's so cute.
It is fun with the music.
Oh dear. And now, of course, okay, I'm back in. Let me just see. The slide with the picture first was blank, which was, oh no, okay. We're gonna try this one more time. Hopefully. All right. I'm gonna share screen again, and we'll see how we do. Did the sound come through?
No, but that's okay.
Dang it, but it was so cute.
Yeah, so I think after the slideshow, there are a couple of images that I can share a little bit about. So yeah, so like I said, the burial ground is located on the grounds of Willowwood Ranch, which has been stewarded by Suzanne Willow and Lenita Witt since 1985. And when they arrived at that property, they quickly became woodland stewards and sought training and expertise from others, consultants on how to take care of the land. We're in a fire adapted ecosystem that hasn't seen natural fire for 150 years. So conservation work has been a big part of what they have done over the decades, inviting the community to participate in that. And also the land was used for almost 100 years for cattle grazing. And so these really precious high elevation meadows and wetlands had been quite degraded, of course, by cattle. So through community efforts and through a nonprofit that they found, an educational nonprofit called the Crest, restoration has been really the main focus of the activity on the ranch. In 2012 or 13, they established a campground for folks to come and stay in. You saw the wall tents maybe in the video, where folks can come and have weddings and reunions and other events and have this farm stay experience. The picture that you see here is the farm proper. Just behind the lights there is the beginning of the vegetable production. So we're a certified organic farm, and most of that, and along with the conservation work, is all sort of through the Crest. So we invite students to come up and do conservation work. We have a summer camp where students work in the garden and take home veggies to their families. One thing in Oregon that is somewhat unique, maybe I'm not sure if we're the only state, but outdoor education for 5th or 6th graders to have a 3-day outdoor education experience is mandated and funded by the state. And we're one of the state's designated outdoor school sites. So we're in the process right now of expanding our campgrounds so that we have enough wall tents that we could have up to 60 students come and actually stay the night with us for a few nights a week. So that has been a sweet addition. And also along with the Crest, we have built hiking trails, and we have a 5K that goes around the whole property. The pond that you saw in the video is pretty unique and well studied and researched by our local university, Southern Oregon University, because it's the highest known breeding population of the Western pond turtle. And so we have hundreds in that pond, and they're numbered and tracked. And if you come and do the total trot with us this fall, the 5K, and you win one of the categories, you get to name one of the turtles. So that's a bonus. And yeah, so it's a place where there are lots of life activities happening. And then of course we have the burial ground, and the turtle trot trail happens to go right through the middle of the currently opened 4 acres of the burial ground that we are using for interments. So it's all kind of a mixture of all of those things happening. And you saw in the video that we have a goat herd and chickens and ducks and geese and dogs and all of that. So it's a full functioning farm along with the burial ground. And I think that there might be a couple other photos, maybe. Yeah, so this is a farm to fork dinner, which really picked up a couple of years ago in popularity. So local chefs come and cook delicious, amazing meals, and we set up tables out in the meadows, and people just get to enjoy being in the beauty and eating delicious local food. So one of the things that I love about the ranch is that it's open to the public every day of the year. And so folks don't need to contact us. They don't need to pay anything. They can just come and hike the trails and watch birds. Maybe you saw in the video those birds that were flying over the meadow. Those are sandhill cranes, which visit every spring. But this spring, they are not just visiting. They seem like they are staying. They've been with us every day since March. And yeah, we're really excited to have them, to get to hear their calls. And we hope that they're gonna have some babies with us. So yeah, that would be awesome.
Oh. The
Yeah,
cuteness.
so those are some of the things that are happening at the ranch, and yeah, maybe
Marianne, I'm seeing some solar panels on that structure. Can you tell us what that is? Are you guys
yeah,
running
yeah,
on solar?
absolutely. Yeah, so we are by some people's standards out in the middle of nowhere, and so it's completely off grid, and we're really blessed that we have all of our own spring water. So part of the property is just there's tons of springs, and in fact it's what supplies the campground, the whole farm, the ranch, the guest lodging, all of that. And the same goes with solar. So generating all of our power from solar with backup generators, of course, and satellite phone and internet. And that's why I'm not at the ranch on many Zoom calls. It's questionable at best sometimes. So yeah, off-grid living is a big part of what the owners have dedicated their lives to. Yeah,
That's
thanks for asking.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So I hear you say that people can just come there.
Yep.
But if people want to stay there, they probably need to contact and make reservations. And that kind of
Yeah. So for camping and for the farm stay accommodations, that's all by reservation. And if you happen to live or we're right off I-5, which I think is really sweet. So 20 minutes off of the interstate, it would get you to the ranch. And this time of year, the gate will be closed because we are surrounded by Bureau of Land Management free range cattle who can't wait to get into those meadows. So just close the gate when you come in.
Yeah, the many facets of being out in the wilderness and off grid and all the things that make it such a special place also are adaptations while living there and working there and coming to visit.
Yeah. And we're at almost, I'll just say that 5,000 feet. And so we do get off and on fair bits of snow, less and less with climate change, but we also take care of the plowing of the road all the way up to our driveway. So we're accessible for all kinds of activities, including burial year round.
What's your favorite
Season?
Random things that happen.
Yeah. I was married at the ranch myself, actually, before I was part of the staff crew. And so the sweetness of the outdoor weddings and the outdoor camp is, it's just total outdoor luxury, beautiful outdoor kitchen and bathhouse. And is one I just could imagine living there all the time. Yeah, so that's kind of one of my sweet places on the property.
Do you find that folks who come for outdoor camping, like, are they curious about the cemetery aspect of it? Or is there, do you feel like there's a kind of crossover or seeds planting in that part of it?
Yeah, so some of our guests we have found are coming as guests to learn about the burial ground now, which has been exciting to see. A woman is coming actually from across the country tomorrow just to check out the burial ground, and she'll stay at the campground for a couple of nights. So that has been nice. I will also say that the burial ground has a little bit of a low profile in some ways. Like we do have a sign and it's at the edge of the property, so right when you pull in, but whether or not people see that. And so I would guess that we still have people that stay with us that don't know that there's a burial ground on the property. And yeah, so there is some crossover, but there is still the burial ground there is a separate feeling. Like I said, the trail goes through there, the Turtle Trot Trail, but it is in a quieter, less accessed area of the property. So it does have, just a lower profile, I would say.
I think about this, I feel like your space and White Eagle Memorial Preserve have some similarities in the, there's a lot of outdoor education happening and there's a lot of life and vibrancy happening. And there is this beautiful end of life way of engaging. And as we have carried on, I think White Eagle has been a cemetery since 2008. So it's been a while, but it began as summer camps, and so it's been an interesting integration process. Summer camp parents learning about the existence of the cemetery and like what,
Right,
how
right.
that sparks people's imagination is a funny way to say that, but
Yeah, yeah. And I would say that always curious about ways to, how to bring the idea of conservation burial and natural burial into our education. I think there's like so much potential, but there's also so many unknowns. And, if a kid asks, of course, we're like, yeah, we bury people. And when I said that to a kid one time, a few weeks ago, he said, like right here, and we're like walking in front of the barn, and I was like, not right here, but so just knowing, I would be curious to learn how other people that do education and burial, how they can bring that into conversation with young people.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say before I move to the next slide, which I
No,
think is me
thank
introducing
you.
myself?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get more questions and bits and stories as we go. So this is me. And I can tell you in response to that curiosity, Marianne, that like our summer camp staff introduced that there's a burial ground the beginning of each summer camp session, and some of the camps go up and spend time in the burial ground. Mostly they're looking at wildflowers or other things. They're not, or they're out riding horses through the trails, that sort of deal. But it's a kind of a low key process because the kids aren't there for that, but it also like I found it to really be a normalizing like effect of just like, oh yeah, that mound there, it's all ringed in pine cones, it's real pretty, that's a grave, that's not a big deal. And I don't know about for the rest of you, but one of my big learning curves in doing this work was learning that the kids don't necessarily have the taboos entrenched in the same way that maybe we grew up with. And so sometimes if I'm doing facilitation of a burial, I'm talking to the kids, and then the parents are like getting it from a couple rows back. And that's been a really good learning curve and inversion for me of like, if we just explain that this is where grandma's body is going to go, and no, you can't go into that hole, you have to like stay on the side, but you can help shovel and lay her to rest. And that makes perfect sense to them. And then the parents are like, oh, okay, don't have to be nervous about how my kid's going to feel, because my kid's actually kind of leading this process in some weird way. Anyways, there's a tangent for you. This is a picture of last summer's work party, two of the pictures. It seems really strange to lead a grave digging work party in August when it's 95 degrees, but one of our land-based programs that happens in September is an eldering retreat. And so a men's group comes every year, and the 50 or so elders get the chance to spend some time with or in or contemplating their mortality at a grave place. And so we need to prepare a number of graves every year in advance of that experience. And so we started hosting an August grave digging work party. And then we use those graves for at-need burials over the winter. They're ready. We are not as high as elevation as the forest, but we're at about 2,700 feet. And so there's definitely snow in the mix, and it helps to have some sites that are ready. So when the roads are accessible, we can get out to them. I have 25 people signed up to dig graves in 95-degree heat the last weekend in August, and they are coming from this men's group organization, some from another land-based program called the Wilderness Awareness School that comes out every spring, and they definitely spend time on the land in general, but in the cemetery in particular. And there's been some learning curve in how to convey respectful values. Most people are super respectful of this, but it's like it can be a really powerful and potent place to do retreat programs. and it is first and foremost a cemetery. And if we have a burial, if we have cemetery visitors, like how to maintain those boundaries too. We also host a Memorial Day weekend open house, and that's a chance for people just to come out and be on the land. And sometimes that's folks who have loved ones buried at the cemetery, and sometimes that's people who are just interested in what conservation burial is. And then we do a sort of work party and ceremony near All Souls Day, where we'll do some grave tending and kind of tuck the grave mounds in for the winter, and host a circle where guests can speak the names of the people that they are grieving, and I will read out the names of the people that we've buried there that year. And that feels like a really lovely kind of way for people to engage. I'm gonna try the video thing again. I found an option that said share sound, so I'm hoping that it does do that. This first short video is another sort of off-season way that we're engaging with the land. We have a forestry contract for Firewise Forest Management. And so a lot of our volunteers and winter interns are doing forestry work and limbing and thinning the trees, and then bringing in firewood. And one of our founding cemetery stewards, Chris, is in this video, and it's a very sweet introduction to this part of our sort of our winter work. Let's see how we do. Can somebody let me know if you can't hear the sound? I don't know what I'll do about that, but I'd like to know.
Gracefully falling down like a river, like the water running on, moving the mountainside. You are stronger, you can shape it.
This is I think it's a 20 or 40 acre piece of foundation land that got a matching funds type of grant for fuel reduction about 3 or 4 years ago. So we went through, mostly with volunteers and some hired staff, and thinned and limbed up like 18 feet. So now we've got pieces of logs in here that we can use for firewood. So we're collecting the firewood to keep us warm in the lodge this winter.
Steam and ember into spires, circle of stones, boulders broken, so you can hold them, so you can hold all these bones of old stories spoken, so you can be them, so we can breathe.
This video was next done. This video is a song that these summer camp staffers wrote during a session of summer camp, and I think this is a similar to what Marianne was sharing, a hit of how kids and land interact. So. We have a garden party at the close of every week. Songs.
She holds us so dear through our deaths and our births. We love the land, a whole earth size. Your body is strong and your shoulders are wide. Holding my heart, this Econi's song. It's singing in me when I hear it, I'm gone. It sounds like the wind through the oaks and the pines. My mind's so quiet, my heart's so alive. Yes, it sounds like the wind through the oaks and the pines. My mind's so quiet, my heart's so alive.
Well, that's enough for me from now. Bethany, do you want to talk about what you guys are up to?
Sure, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
They just did that song this summer, or was it a while back?
That was from the before times, as you can tell by the snuggling and the
Yeah,
set arrests. I think that
No
was
snuggling.
the 2018 camp season.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Well,
Yeah.
hopefully snuggling will, come back soon enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So my name's Bethany. I'm the Outreach and Stewardship Programs Manager for Coastal Prairie Conservancy. And we protect open lands and prairie habitat on the Gulf Coast of Texas. So that's centered around Houston. But we work in about 9 counties right now. The Katy Prairie Preserve is where we have plans to set up a conservation cemetery, and we joined the Conservation Burial Alliance a year ago, and we aren't up and running yet. We're still talking with various landowners and donors to find the perfect location for our burial ground. So we're getting closer, but we're not open yet. We really want to be open ASAP, definitely by 2023. So Jody still included us today since right now, all we do are other programs since our burial ground is not operating yet. And so I have a few photos. You can go ahead and go to the next slide, Jody. Cool. So the Katy Prairie Preserve, as of now, protects about 18,000 acres of habitat, including working farms and ranches where we work to do sustainable grazing and sustainable farming in line with wildlife use. We are very popular for bird watchers. The Gulf Coast of Texas in general is a birding hotspot because every migration season, when birds are moving north and south from Central America, they generally hop over the Gulf of Mexico and land somewhere near the Houston region. So protecting habitat for migrating birds is a big part of our mission. And we also have lots of sandhill cranes. Of course, they're not with us in the breeding season, but they do spend winter with us. So this is a photo on the left of birders last February watching the cranes before they left us, right before they headed north to you guys. And other fun activities that happen on the Katy Prairie Preserve. The photo on the right is a 12-foot woolly mammoth tusk that we found a few years ago on one of the properties that's part of the Katy Prairie Preserve. We don't disclose the location for obvious reasons. And we've had the fossil in storage, and researchers from the University of Texas in Austin came to pick it up actually just 2 days ago. So it can be stored in the climate controlled labs there until we're ready to display it in our new visitor center, which is also still a work in progress. But yeah, we've found lots of fossilized remains across the Katy Prairie. The coastal prairie region, like all of North America's grasslands, has been grassland habitat for millennia. So there's ancient grazers, the original bison, woolly mammoths, ice age horses. We found fossils from all of those. And then some remnant remains from villages of the Native American tribes who lived in our region at that time too. And those were the Akokisa and the Atacapans who lived on our prairies. So it's always fun to catalog and explore and make sure that we're telling all those stories. You can go ahead to the next one. The restoration work on the coastal prairie in Texas is never done. The coastal prairie habitats were historically maintained by fire, like many other ecosystems. So now we do prescribed fire about once every 2.5 to 3 years. That's the general cycle. And when we have volunteers with us, like these Boy Scouts and their parents in the photo on the right, we tell them that they're either mimicking fire or they're mimicking grazers, but they are doing what's required for a prairie habitat to be happy, and that is disturbance. The worst thing for any prairie is to leave it alone. So these scouts were going through with their parents and just shredding grasses, just with their gloved hands, just breaking apart grasses, which they really love because kids like to be able to run amok and destroy things. And that's exactly what we want them to do. So that's a great volunteer program. And we could use lots more kids to help us do that. And then the photo on the left just happened a few months ago. We also have volunteers who help us monitor our properties, to make sure that conservation values are being protected and habitats are still intact. And these volunteers located the first ever carnivorous plant that was found on the Katy Prairie Preserve. And so this is a pink sundew. They're teeny tiny, like each plant, is a few millimeters across. And but they are carnivorous. If you Google pink sundew, you'll see some better close-up images. But they have glands where they produce, acid, enzyme-laden chemicals that can digest bugs. And so that was one of the fun things we found just this summer. All right, I can't remember what's next. So yeah, we do operate and protect the last remaining rice farm in Harris County. Harris County is where Houston is. And so Harris County used to be lots of farms and ranches and open lands. Of course, now it is very, very urbanized, definitely mostly concrete. But we have a great farmer whose family has been with us a long time, and he's been a rice farmer for decades. And these are photos of the Nelson Farm, the last working rice farm in Harris County that we plan to keep working. And we just cut rice last week off of it, and we'll do another cut of rice in probably early October. So, and next slide. We also protect the largest remaining and the longest operating cattle ranch left in Harris County. There used to be lots of cattle ranches. There are not anymore. There's a few small ones here and there. The Warren Ranch is about 6,000 acres. And so it's a big, still working ranch. And we manage the cattle on 100%, grass-fed, sustainable beef. And then we do lots of educational programs for area school groups, kids, anyone who really wants to visit. And so this is a These are, this is one of our cowboys, one of our ranch hands, teaching local kids how to work a lasso, which is not easy. So those are some of the fun programs we do, you know, and then soon enough, when we have the cemetery open, that preserve will connect through walking trails to our other preserves. And the other thing we're working on right now is getting more of our preserves open daily, so people can visit and enjoy and go for walks between, you know, sunrise and sundown every day. So
Bethany,
that's it for me.
Well, sort of, I have a question. How did the idea of conservation burial come into? I mean, you guys are helping to sustain and preserve and conserve so many like remaining legacies. I'm curious how conservation burial came into your purview.
You know, we had heard that other nonprofits and land trusts were starting to do it, and it's a win-win. We see it as a great way to provide natural burial for people in the greater Houston region, and as a way for us to protect land, you know, while we provide that community service. So it seemed like one more meaningful win-win way for us to protect more land and do it with a mission that is a sustainable way, you know, for us to provide a service and have some operating funds that can help us to continue to protect land.
I'm so excited to learn more about what you guys are doing. It's just like it's really heart and soul affirming, and may this year coming be the year that you that you
Yes.
move into that part. Yes.
Thank you. We're committed to it happening. So I'll keep you guys posted.
Please do. Thank you for sharing what you're up to thus far and where you're headed as well. All right, Laura, are you ready?
Ready, yeah. Hey, wow, this is it's always so exciting to me to do these CBA meetings where I see what other people are doing around the country, because they're all so different and they're all so beautiful. And so, I don't know, it's really moving to me. I want to talk a little bit about Heartwood Preserve. We are and Diana is going to chime in with me throughout this next few minutes because she's on board on the call as well. And she's our director of operations, and she and I have been together working on this since we opened, or since before we opened. She's been with me. So she's my right-hand gal. And so together we've really developed these programs that we're going to look at, just a few, some sampling of them. But I just want to say, I love the videos. I'm sorry we didn't get to hear the sound on the first one from the forest, but the images of the goats, and then the badass women working in the woods out at Econi Ranch, it was just beautiful. And I love what you're doing, and I'm excited for the Houston area, Texas project coming up. So anyway, at Heartwood Preserve, we're a very different location in that we are literally on the wildland urban interface in a really intense way. We are on property that is in the suburbs. We border an 18,000 acre wilderness preserve, but we are right in the suburbs. So our community, our market, our Tampa Bay urban corridor is just a very different culture. As Diane and I were texting each other going, where do these cool people come from? Where can we get some? We just have a different culture of people where we are, but we're doing some beautiful things with the community, and they're just loving Heartwood Preserve. So if you want to go to the next slide, some of the things that we do, we have this beautiful welcome center that opened 3 years ago. Yes, 2016. And no, what am I saying? 2019. Yes, we opened in 2016. The building opened in 2019. So that has given us a location for people to come inside, out of the weather, out of the heat, out of the rain, out of the storms, and the humidity and come in and have a quiet space that opens and you can see through these windows that it looks into the woods, part of our woods. We have a monthly mindful meditation group that meets, so we're bringing just basic mindful meditation, kind of a Buddhist base, but Thich Nhat Hanh based meditation, that just because that's my practice personally, and have a group of women that we are leading this monthly. So that's one thing we do. Next slide. We have had a variety of different workshops that Diana has helped put together. The WaterWise Landscaping Award was something that the Tampa Bay Water Agency just did just to help people to use more native plants, landscaping. And it's one of those things where you nominate yourself and we nominated ourselves as a business, but it was one of those things that got some attention to using native plant landscaping. This is for the landscaping around our building, not to be confused with our cemetery, which is an intact ecosystem. But anyway, it was a nice little publicity thing where we got on the local station, and the county commissioner came out and presented it and could not pronounce our name to save our lives. Diana can remember.
That is true.
Yeah, but it was a nice feel good opportunity to get our name out in the community. Diana, you want to talk about the workshop on the left?
I'm sure. So Kristen Hare is the local obituary writer for Tampa Bay Times for a long time, and she does like spotlight obits. She's just a really good obituary writer. She's done it for a long time. And so we had her come out and do a workshop called Writing Your Own Obituary. And she basically walked you through the steps, told you what other people have done. She read about 3 samples, and it was just a really good, I was there, Laura was there, that's my husband in the photo. Everyone that came to that workshop left feeling just like, it's just an awesome thing that we did that day. And we're going to have her come back. And I have a whole list of things that we're doing just right now coming up.
Yeah.
What
Go to
was
the
the
next slide real quick,
What's the next slide?
because Diana hadn't seen the slides I've put together. So
Yeah,
you can
okay.
talk on a couple of these. Go ahead.
I can. Okay. So local high school students will come out. They need community hours for different programs they're in for, college scholarships, and the high schools are making them have hours, yada, yada, yada. So we have a butterfly garden in Heartwood Preserve, and we'll have them come out and help with that seasonally. Also pulling invasive weeds, and we educate them about what weeds they're pulling and why. We show them it, we walk them around, and next thing you know, we lay tarps down and they're filling up, with Kogan grass and all these just terrible things. And they're also learning, in the process. And then we give them water and snacks and pizza, and they're getting their hours, and it's a win-win. So that's a bunch of high school students. My daughter has been coming and volunteering at Heartwood Preserve since she was 9. And she learned so much, and she's now part of the death positive community for it, coming to the cemetery, helping. And the other photo is the local Audubon chapter. So Bird Watchers, as someone else has mentioned earlier, our Audubon and us are like BFF. We're like, they're awesome. We love when they come out. They put all of our photos on eBird, and I'll share them sometimes on our Facebook. They're so excited when they come to Heartwood. They see all these great things, and they compliment us. They say certain birds that wouldn't even be there if we weren't doing our controlled burns and keeping a really good habitat for the birds. So when they come out, they love it. And when they come out, we love it. So that's what these photos are. What's next? Okay, so then Laura probably wants to talk about this.
Yeah. So
This is
this
her
was
biggest-
exciting. Back
Yeah.
when I was first coming up with the idea of this place, we thought that, it needs to be a place that's so life affirming that you would want to have a wedding out there, or a baptism, or as well as a celebration of life and a burial. And it was kind of a litmus test as to who really got it, as to when I was interviewing, years ago, a couple of people to do our website design and develop our brand, our logo and everything. And when I mentioned that, and the woman I went with was like, yes, and weddings, yes. And that other woman that I didn't go with was like, oh, no wedding, no, you don't want to go with a wedding at a cemetery. And I was like, okay, well, that made it clear that that's not the person that's going to get what we're doing out here. We finally, after being open for 4.5 years, last summer. Yeah, 4.5 years open. I had a young couple that wanted to get married out there. So this is our big oak tree behind our building, and this young couple just loved it. And the top left you can see is this end of the ceremony. The bottom left picture is them, you know, the photographer found this area, but that part is right in our cemetery. So it was just great to have this lovely young couple. They just stopped, so they were just thrilled, and it was just a beautiful experience. And we just felt so good for this young. Can you see me? Because it says my
Yes.
internet's okay. All right. Connection is unstable. But anyway, that was a really beautiful day. It was a June wedding, which is sweltering hot and humid in Florida, but that was when they could do it. And it was just beautiful. So that was.
And
that
if
was
you're wondering, that photo on the left, that's birdseed.
Yes. It's not rice. It was bird seed.
No, it's not
Yes.
confetti. It's not confetti.
Not confetti. Yeah.
Also, by the way, just one little snippet on this is they just came back a couple days ago with their baby.
Yeah. She was so sweet. Tiny. I got to hold her.
Oh
Okay.
my
next
God.
slide.
I'm just gonna interject with a thought, because I am drinking an alcoholic beverage, and so I have less filter now. But but I feel like one of the amazing things about the way that that all the life stuff of like mixes with the death stuff is we get to build these relationships. Here,
Mhm.
here's my video again, like that are ongoing. And I'm gonna ask Laura Cameron if she's still on a little bit later to talk about what her experience with us has been on that front. But like these are kind of lifelong relationships that start sometimes out of hardship and sometimes out of wedded bliss. But
Mhm.
it's very human scale is my sense of all of this.
It really is. And I will say, you know, this couple did not have a connection otherwise to Heartwood. The mother of the bride is an old high school buddy of one of my good friends. So it was sort of a, hey, show them around Heartwood because they just moved to the area. And then the daughter was like, hey, could we get married here? And I was like, sure, of course. So it just sort of happened that way. But so they don't have there's no family member buried at Heartwood at this time. But the groom's mother or father had died a few years before. And so he was embracing of, you know, the reality of we live and we die and death is part of it. So anyway, so you want to go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to talk on this one too, Diana, as you know, I want to.
I know you do.
We do. Yeah, you know, I want to. We do an annual prescribed burn. We are a fire-based ecosystem. And this is my favorite time of year. It's my favorite day of the year is the day we get to burn. I'm a prescribed burn manager. So on the left is the day of our burn. We burn every year, but each section burns every 3 years around a cycle. So we don't burn all of the cemetery at once. But we really do a lot of preparation for people. We have so many people in Florida that have moved here from and continually move every day to Florida from other parts of the country and other states, and people that even have lived here and that have lived in the city or in a suburban neighborhood their whole time in Florida, and they don't know anything about prescribed fire. So we do a lot of educating through our newsletter, through our kiosk signs, and we put signs up ahead of time. We post it on our Facebook. We do all of the different ways of educating people about the importance of prescribed fire to mimic nature. And then what we do is we don't invite people out for the prescribed burn day. We close, that's the day of the year that we close our gates. But afterwards, within a few weeks afterwards, I'll give a tour after the burn tour. We've made it into a kind of a special, we do one for the general mailing list, general public, anybody that wants to come. But then we also do a special kind of an invitation only for our Heartwood families, so that we try to have some special events that are just, you know, like a special time that we have one mailing list that just goes out to people who are, you know, have someone buried at Heartwood or are pre-planned there. And so we have those events just for them to just have a little extra special something. And so here you can see me giving a tour. You can see from the sunlight, it's in the evening. We served a little wine and coffee and beer and wine and cheese and, fruit and cookies and things in the evening after work on a Friday, and then went for a walk, and just looked around at things that were coming back. You can see I'm standing right in an area that had just burned 4 weeks before, and that's how quickly things grow back. So I really love talking about it, as you can tell. And we the next day did the general after the burn tour. We called it Fire and Ice Cream. So I had it like an ice cream social on a Saturday afternoon. And that one was actually ended up being all of the Native Plant Society chapter showed up for that one. So they all knew about prescribed fire. They just wanted to come see what was growing and bloom or, coming back. So that ended up being kind of a different group, but also wonderful. So we have a couple different types of groups of people that come out. If you go to the next slide. And then this one, then I'm going to send it back over to Diana after this slide because she's got some other things she can mention. But this was some artwork that was done by a local artist named Joe Weinzettel. And he came out, asked after one of our events, we had a artist who put her artwork up on our walls in our building in our main room. And we had an art exhibit. So he came out and asked if he was wanting to learn more about longleaf pines and asked if he could come out and paint. I was like, of course. And so he ended up getting, I gave him the combination to our gate, our front gate. And he has been coming out he started right at COVID. So he's been coming out for 2 years now. And he still comes out couple mornings a week. He'll be out there early and find a spot, go sit out and do plein air painting. And I did this horizontal picture as an inset from the bottom of the picture on the left, which he donated to us after his exhibit. If you look closely, there are dates that he painted into the base of the photo of the picture, which were each of the days that he painted. So it was about the place, but also about the time that he saw this place. And I just thought that was, I don't know if other artists do this, but I had never heard of that before. I just thought it was so beautiful the way he captured the life. This one painting has the time as well as the space that he's painting. So I thought that was really, really beautiful. So
I've never heard of that before, Laura. That's amazing.
Yeah, I just thought it was so cool. And he's the most quiet, shy, awkward, unassuming person to talk to, but when he starts talking about his art, he's just beautiful. So it's been a really special relationship that he's developed with our place, and we've gotten to know him through that. So that's been beautiful. So we're hoping to get more artists to be able to come in and display their art for a little while, and we do a little reception. So it's been really nice. That's been a little thing. We've just done 2 artists so far. Diana, do you want to add some things? I think that's our last. I think that's the last slide that I have on there. So go ahead.
So basically, so when Laura and I were sitting in the very beginning stages meetings about like what we wanted from Heartwood, besides it being obviously a conservation cemetery, she's like, what would be so cool? She's like a monthly meditation. And I was like, yeah, that's so cool. Like, once we get a building, and so we got the building, and then all of a sudden, we had a really great sign up list. We have like a monthly newsletter, like what's happening at Heartwood will go out, and it lists everything that we're doing. And the monthly meditation has been really great. These are what we have coming up. So these are all the things we do. So we have a Tai Chi in the preserve. So Tai Chi is outside. It's anybody, any age. It's just a basic Tai Chi class. It is obviously just free. Next, we have a grief support group. The grief support group is on and off. It usually does it around the holidays. So it starts every 4th Sunday starting this month. Next, I host a death cafe since 2017 at Heartwood Preserve in different locations, but now that we have our awesome building, it's been really steady. The death cafe is about every 6 to 8 weeks going strong. And then the Raptor Center of Tampa Bay is coming out and bringing owls. So we're doing, we get together with local nurseries and different people that speak, and lady that owns like Wild Birds Unlimited and all these different kinds of people. And this, we happen to connect with the Raptor Center of Tampa Bay, and they're coming out. We do a heartfelt, gentle yoga, and that happens about once a month, and that's awesome. And then there's a mindful meditation, which you already learned about. And then we do a talk and tour about natural burial, green burial, conservation burial. I host those 4 times a year, and it's been a really great turnout. Absolutely no selling, just like information. If anybody wants like a private tour, they make an appointment. Otherwise, they come listen to me talk for about 45 minutes, and then I give them a little tiny tour outside in the cemetery. We also have a golf cart. And so you are up to date on what we have going on. And then we have a crystal bowl meditation that happens about once a month too. So crystal bowls has been the biggest indoor event we've had now since COVID. And there's about, it's packed. It's a packed house. So, okay, that's it.
Good.
We
We have had fun just, coming up with new things, new ideas of activities. And again, it's just, we don't have, what's different from some of the other cemetery organizations is that, for one thing, we're not organized as a nonprofit. So we didn't start as a nonprofit or an organization of people who then sought out to create the cemetery. I kind of did it in reverse because I didn't have that opportunity to have a community. So in reverse, we're kind of, if you build it, they will come, sort of, was the approach that just worked for us, for my situation. And so the community is growing with our people that come out, the people that are family members buried or pre-planning with us, or who just haven't gotten there yet, but they just love us and they live in the area. So we're kind of creating this community in a kind of the reverse of what the way that a lot of y'all have started. So each place has its own story of origin. And some of y'all may have heard me blather on about that in other CBA meetings, but this is one of the ways that we're building our community. So I love seeing what other people are doing too.
Yeah, and I really want to feed back to both of you that I hear and see so much like what those initial like sparky fun ideas are just in a dialogue, and then what happens when you enact them and find response, and then the things grow. I mean, there are cool people all over the place. You two cool people are magnetizing and building a really amazing thing. So I mean, carry on. It's tenuous, and it's like, it is a faith exercise. Also, all of these things are faith exercises. That's my perspective on it.
So true.
Our next slide is Q&A, which means I'm going to stop sharing and we'll go back to people's faces. And I want to acknowledge it's about 5:15, so maybe we'll have 15 minutes worth to share any thoughts that are in the mix. Does anybody have any initial questions, burning questions, or otherwise? Laura Cameron, you had offered earlier to talk about what your experience was. Laura came to White Eagle through a confluence, I would say, of life events, and has since become a CBA board member. I'd love to hear what your experience has been.
I discovered White Eagle Memorial Preserve back in 2018 and came out for one of their Memorial Day kind of open houses because my mom had a series of TIAs and declined rapidly, and we thought the end of the world was near. And I met Jody, and I met these other cemetery leadership there, Bob, and just fell in love with the idea of a totally natural area. My mom never met an ecologically conservation-y oriented charity that she didn't adore. And even if she only gave $25 a month, that was, I got a stack of mail like this still. from all of her animal and conservation charities. So as it happened, the first person I buried at White Eagle was not my mom, it was my husband, who had been ill for many months and then fell off the back of the sleigh. And I have to say, White Eagle rose to the occasion and managed to make the most heartwarming environment for us to bring a totally custom burial. There was no sort of benefit of clergy except a friend of mine who used to do weddings, and we brought him in to lead the service for us. I came, that was in October, and I came back for the first All Souls Day immediately after that. It was only 2-3 weeks later. And the embrace of the circle at that fire and the pots of soup and the reading of people's poems and offering the blessings into the fire just caught me. Since then, I had a giant family funeral just about 6 or 8 months ago when my mother did pass, and we had my father's ashes and my Aunt Helen's ashes. So we had kind of a big jamboree funeral for all of them. But I have since also brought friends with chainsaws and lopping tools, and we have launched multiple attacks on the bitterbrush, which is an invasive species out there in eastern Washington. I've made a couple of videos for White Eagle that just, share what it's like to be part of a burial there if you have no idea what conservation burial means. And I think I've now got it. There's more than 1,000 views on that. And I'm hoping that has led other people to discover White Eagle. And if they're not, YouTube is everywhere in the world. If they're not in Washington, there's Oregon right next door. There's other states. And I'm hoping that by contributing that, it has prompted a lot of people to ask questions in their own communities and go seek out alternatives to what I snarkily call, kind of headstones and plastic grass.
Laura is a writer, in case you guys didn't pick that up already. Thank you, Laura. Yeah. The way in, I feel like, comes in many different directions, and some of what we've been talking about tonight is the different ways that people adjacently absorb, or the ways that we offer space to aligned experience, maybe. And that's both very ecologically based with conservation, and like Bethany, I loved the Boy Scout story about kids wanting to destroy things and set them loose. Do it. And you saw from the song video of like the kids pulling the firewood in, like we make the kids do chores and we tell them about death, and we sometimes harvest chickens, and that's another kind of death, and like all of these threads really weave together in a way that like looks so different in each ecosystem and looks so different in each organizational model, but I feel, to me, like very similar work, which is, not to get super deep about it, but like it's the work of being human. So that's kind of a thing. Any more thoughts for the good of the order this evening? It's about 5:20 on my coast. Well, it's a pleasure to be in this work with all of you, and Laura wants a WEMP t-shirt. It's an afterlife community. Yeah, it is. Thank you. I can't remember your name, estate planning, but thank you. I will think of you as estate planning whenever I see you.
Miss Murphy.
Miss Murphy. Thank you, Miss Murphy.
Thank you, Miss Murphy. Irish. I'm originally from South Boston, Massachusetts. I'm real Irish, 100%. But this
The original Miss
body
Murphy is what I'm gonna think of you as now.
in
No more
Texas,
Caitlin,
in the
the
coastal
OG.
prairie. Where's Bethany? Right.
Yeah, Bethany's gonna get you a place to be buried soon. You gotta hang in there for a little while longer, but she's got you. She's
And
got you.
Texas will be a
We've lost the voice on that one.
bye all. Good to see you.
Bye all. Thanks
Hey,
for
Vicky
spending this
Jane.
hard time with us. More again. More
No,
soon.
you're fine.
Good night.
Thank everybody.
Thank you all so much.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you so much, everybody.
Super fun.
Thanks for leading this, Jody. I appreciate you
Yes,
carrying
thank
the
you.
torch
Happy
on it.
summer.
Yes.
you.
Good summer
Bye.
offering.